Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the noise, the reports, the data, so you get the crucial insights you need to be, well, truly informed. Today, we're tackling an industry in, frankly, a massive upheaval, the global automotive sector. Now, if you follow the news, you hear a lot about combustion versus electric, right? That battle. But the sources we've dug into, they paint a picture of a much deeper crisis for the big manufacturers. It's not just about the engine.
That's spot on. It's really not just a tech swap. It's a fundamental failure of strategy, of competence even. And the core contradiction that jumps out from all the data is almost, well, hard to believe. You have companies throwing billions, absolutely staggering sums at the technology.
Billions.
Yeah, billions on new machines, complex R&D, these big electrification platforms. But the most critical piece, the people.
The skills needed.
Exactly, the skills, the competence to actually run all this sophisticated new stuff. It was massively strategically overlooked, just not prioritized.
Wow. The ultimate strategic blind spot, you could say.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack what happens when you have that kind of imbalance. We need to understand why the whole global market is shifting so fast, and then detail this radical 360-degree transformation that seems absolutely necessary for Western car makers to even survive. Okay, let's unpack this. So let's start with that initial rush. It felt almost like a panic, didn't it?
A bit, yeah.
Our sources show these huge financial commitments saying, okay, whole model ranges electric by 2030, 2035.
Yeah.
And this meant jumping into totally new ways of making cars, like mega and giga casting. These huge presses that basically stamp out big chunks of the car body.
Right. Simplifies the structure, but needs completely different skills, different engineering control.
And even more critical, maybe, was this shift to the software-defined vehicle, the SDV. The car basically becoming a computer on wheels.
Exactly. These are game-changing ideas. Gigacasting needs different material scientists, different process engineers than old-school stamping. And SDVs, that means constant updates, advanced driver assistance, ADS machine learning experiments. It's a massive pivot from mechanical engineering towards computer science. Really is.
Okay, but how did the companies actually respond to this massive shift in complexity, organizationally?
Well, that's the problem. The money, the big bucks, went to the shiny new machines, the labs, the stuff you can see, point to.
Tangible investments.
Right. Organizational politics often favors that. But training, developing competence, restructuring HR, that got, well, leftovers. A tiny slice of the budget, if anything substantial at all.
So it wasn't just the amount of money for training, it was the timing, too. Sounds like they created a demand for skills they didn't actually have yet.
Precisely. That's what the reports show. Training programs kicking off way too late, sometimes after the first EVs were already rolling off the line.
That seemed backwards.
It's like buying a Formula One car and then deciding maybe you should teach the mechanics how to change the super complex tires,
Right. So what was the immediate fallout from getting the sequence wrong like that?
Yeah.
The skills gap must have been catastrophic.
Oh, it was. You had engineers brilliant at combustion engines suddenly thrown into managing battery cooling systems, writing code for operating systems, trying to integrate AI algorithms.
There's basically no proper preparation?
None. And the results? Totally predictable, sadly. Delayed projects, quality issues leading to huge expensive recalls.
Right, those recalls were brutal.
And development costs just ballooning because they had to bring in pricey external consultants just to fill the basic gaps they had internally. What's fascinating here is you'd think competence building would anticipate new vehicles, new manufacturing, prepare for it. Instead, it trailed behind. So Western companies were constantly playing catch-up with the very tech they were trying to launch, running hard just to stand still.
Which brings us neatly to Section 2, looking at the immediate fallout for car makers in Europe and North America. The data's pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. Market share, eroding fast, profit margins, under serious pressure, development costs exploding.
And quality problems rising because the cars are just so complex now.
Exactly. So if the West was struggling with its own internal planning, who was planning effectively, where does the data point?
That seems to be China.
Absolutely. China, their dominance now in the EV world isn't luck. It's not an overnight thing. The sources are crystal clear. This is the result of a methodical, decade-long systemic strategy.
Systemic. Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means while the West often saw this as just swapping one technology for another, China saw it as a complete industrial overhaul. They built it on three pillars, really.
Right.
First, huge state support for specialized engineering training. We're talking hundreds of thousands of engineers trained specifically in EV tech, batteries, AI, years ahead of the curve.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
That scale. It dwarfs the sort of incremental training we saw elsewhere.
It really does. Second, they built integrated ecosystems, controlling the whole chain, from raw materials for batteries to the cells, the vehicles, even the charging infrastructure.
That gives incredible synergy, cost control.
Unparalleled. And third, coordinated government support that not only boosted domestic demand, but also created big competitive advantages internationally.
And the numbers really tell that story, don't they? China controlling, what, over 60% of the global EV battery market?
Over 60%. And get this, 7 out of the 10 biggest EV makers globally, they're Chinese now.
7 out of 10, wow.
And look at R&D spending, crucial for the future. Chinese firms often invest over 4% of revenue. Compare that to maybe 2.5% on average in Europe.
That's a significant difference.
It is. So if you connect the dots, the crisis in the West isn't just about EVs. It's fundamentally a crisis of strategic foresight and the capacity to manage change. It's the price you pay for clinging too tightly to the old ways, the legacy systems, instead of proactively jumping into a new reality defined by speed and software.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Why is this defense of the old way so strong? Let's talk about speed. This time-to-market gap is just colossal. Western companies taking 48 to 60 months, that's 4 to 5 years to bring out a new model, while Chinese competitors are hitting 24 to 30 months, half the time, basically.
And that gap, that 30-month difference, it means Western cars can feel outdated, technologically speaking, almost as soon as they launch. They were designed in a different tech era.
So where's that time going? What's the big drag?
Well, a huge chunk of that wasted time, believe it or not, traces back to something really mundane but incredibly destructive.
Yeah.
The toxic spreadsheet.
The spreadsheet, seriously. That sounds almost too simple to be the cause of a crisis this big.
It sounds simple, I know, but the impact is just enormous. Our sources show technical people, these highly paid engineers who should be innovating spending, like 30% to 40% of their actual working time.
30 to 40%.
Yes, just managing spreadsheets, updating them, correcting errors, trying to reconcile different versions from different teams.
Wow. That's nearly 2 days a week just on spreadsheet admin and checking. That's
Yeah.
stunningly inefficient.
It's crippling. Look, spreadsheets are flexible for simple things, sure, but they were never, ever designed for the kind of complex, integrated engineering needed today. They create these silos of information. The mechanical team has their spreadsheet. The battery team has theirs. Software has theirs. All with slightly different data, different update times.
So nobody has the single source of truth.
Exactly. An engineer needs to check, say, a battery spec. They might spend days chasing down data across 4 different department spreadsheets only to find conflicts or that it's 3 months out of date.
Verification paralysis kills speed.
Totally. So the real bottleneck, it isn't the available tech like AI or better platforms. It's the cultural inertia, the managerial resistance to ditching those old tools and embracing integrated digital systems.
Wow.
It's defending the complexity.
Why defend it, though?
The sources are pretty blunt here. Managers often protect the existing processes, the status quo, because, well, it feels safer in the short term. It's what they know how to control.
Less personal risk of failure.
Right. But protecting that status quo, it condemns the whole organization to obsolescence in the long run. These overly complex, opaque systems actually help some middle managers keep their positions, maintain relevance.
So the key takeaway here needs to be shouted from the rooftops. The job loss is the pain we're seeing. It's caused by the failure to change, the failure to adopt digital tools effectively. It's not the tools themselves, like AI, causing the layoffs. It's the management blocking the transformation that ultimately guarantees the company falls behind. They're not saving jobs. They're sealing the company's fate.
Couldn't agree more. That's the harsh truth.
Okay, so if spreadsheets and legacy culture are the villains here, how do you break free? What's the path forward?
The sources lay out a clear solution, but it's radical. It's a 360-degree industrial transition, not just swapping engines, but transforming everything. Processes, culture, skills, the whole value chain.
So moving beyond just electrifying the car to electrifying the company?
That's a good way to put it. The target shift is huge. It means getting away from those old, slow, sequential workflows where one team finishes, hands off a pile of documents or files to the next.
The waterfall method.
Right. Moving towards agile, parallel ways of working, using shared, integrated digital platforms. Think less like building a house, foundation, then walls, then roof, and more like modern software development, where multiple teams work concurrently, integrating their code constantly, seeing the whole picture in real time.
That demands a massive cultural change, though. More transparency, more trust, maybe a different attitude to risk.
Absolutely. Huge cultural shift. And that's what finally allows AI to stop being seen as a threat and become what it should be, a precious tool. AI doesn't replace the engineer. It amplifies them. It frees them up from all that repetitive admin, that spreadsheet chasing.
Okay, can you give us some concrete examples? How does AI actually help shrink that 60-month development time down to 30?
Sure. A big one is generative design. Instead of an engineer manually creating and testing component designs one by one.
Which takes ages.
Right. AI can explore literally thousands of configurations simultaneously. It runs simulations, optimizes for weight, cost, performance, all in a fraction of the time. That massively shrinks the early design phase.
Okay, that tackles cost and weight, which are huge issues for EVs. What else?
Then you've got predictive maintenance on the factory floor. AI analyzes complex data patterns from all the machinery to predict failures before they happen.
Less downtime, more efficient production.
Drastically less downtime, keeps the lines running. And in quality control, sources talk about artificial vision systems. AI spotting microscopic defects with like 99.9% precision. Humans just can't match that reliably.
So the message to managers is really stop fearing AI. It's not after your engineers' core jobs. It's after their spreadsheets and the admin drudgery that's slowing everyone down. It's an ally.
Embrace it as an ally, exactly.
All right, so to wrap up this really fascinating deep dive, the sources seem to offer a pretty clear roadmap for managers who are actually ready to make this leap.
They do. It boils down to 4 key actions, really.
Okay, what are they?
First, a really honest, no-holds-barred audit of the competence gaps. Where are we really weak? Across all departments. Brutal honesty required.
Okay, honesty first?
Second, massive, properly structured training, upskilling, reskilling, investing seriously in your people now, not later.
Right, catching up on that investment.
Third, systematically kill off the obsolete tools, especially the spreadsheets and the data silos they create. Replace them with integrated, single source of truth digital platforms. Enforce transparency.
Rip out the old plumbing.
Basically, yes. And finally, fourth, aggressively adopt AI across the entire value chain. Design, manufacturing, logistics, quality everywhere can amplify human capability.
That sounds like a complete overhaul. But what's the reward? What's the payoff they can expect if they actually do all this?
Well, the benefits described aren't just small improvements. The sources talk about quantum leaps.
Quantum leaps, like what?
Like a 40% reduction in time to market, getting down to that competitive 24-30-month cycle.
40%, okay.
Yeah, a 30% cut in development costs. And potentially a 50% improvement in production efficiency. These are game-changing numbers.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It seems the tools are there, the tech exists, the roadmap is actually pretty clear, but the real deciding factor between survival and just fading away for these legacy auto giants, it seems to be courage. The courage to act, to ditch decades of comfortable but obsolete habits and accept the risk that comes with real transformation.
Yeah. And the lesson extends beyond just auto execs. For policymakers, for HR leaders, for managers everywhere, the message is that certainty, investment, it needs to flow now to people and to digital tools. The industry really needs to let go of the arrogance, maybe, of thinking the methods that worked in the 20th century will cut it in the 21st. They won't.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on, a principle mentioned in our sources that feels relevant to almost every industry facing this kind of disruption.
Remember Charles Darwin, basically. In the long run, it's not the strongest species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one most responsive to change. So ask yourself, which side of that evolutionary line does your industry, maybe even your own company, look like it's falling on right now? Because transformation isn't really an option anymore, is it? It feels like an imperative.